South African National Rally Commission and its partners Volkswagen, Ford, Toyota, Dunlop and Sasol. The town of Bela was the scene of round 4 of the South African National Rally Championship, and with its running, the championship reached its midpoint. Bela has hosted a round of the NRC in the past, when the final round of the 2014 season took place on its trademark dusty red roads. But that event took place in summer, which meant that the gravel was damp for the most part and downright soaked in places. This year's event took place on the 19th and 20th of June, right in the middle of the dry Limpopo winter. As a result, the 2015 Bela Rally was one of the dustiest events of the year. Not that that detracted from the undeniable success of the event. As with round 3 of the championship, which took place in Secunda, the Bela Motor Rally was a collaborative effort between the South African National Rally Commission and some highly motivated businesses in the area. The event HQ, for instance, was positioned at the familiar Forever Resort in town, while they also supplied the open area for the Dunlop Service Park. The Bela Mall offered their car park for the ceremonial start of the event, while scrutineering took place outside the De Decker restaurant and was supported by ABBA Liquor. As at Secunda, scrutineering was turned into a spectacular event by the setting rather than the drab formality it usually is. Van Heerden Apteke, Waterberg Toyota, Century Development 2020 Properties and the Waterfront Residential Estate all came to the party to make the event not only happen, but happen in fine style. And with many spectators making the short drive from Pretoria to Bela, the rally was extremely well attended. But that's a bit about the Bela backdrop. Here are the players in Class S1600, South Africa's premier rally class for front-wheel drive machines with engines of 1600cc. This is a highly competitive class of racing, with a plethora of fast crews competing for the spoils. As a matter of fact, after the first 3 rounds of the season, things were looking extremely tight at the top of the leaderboard. Only 3 points separated the top 3, and interestingly, it was last year's champion Guy Bottrell who found himself at the back of the leading trio. Last year, Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasey-Lyle warped the championship in their locally built Yatu Toyota Etios, but so far this year they found the going tough, managing only a 3rd place on round 1.
The first round we got off to a good start. On day 1 we had a small lead, and then going into day 2, the very first stage, I got a puncture and I got stuck in the sugarcane where I lost 4 minutes, and I was lucky enough to come back through to 3rd and score some points. Then we went off to the Sasol, and the first stage we won. Chad was quite close behind us, and on our way to the 2nd stage our drive shaft pulled out of the gearbox, so unfortunately we didn't finish the Sasol. And then at round 3 at Secunda, we were fortunate. We managed to get through and not have many issues that stopped the car, although there was a lot going on inside, but we managed to get through and bring home the points.
But the young Durbanite was sure not to have it all his way on the Bela rally, as Paul Franken and Henry Kern in their Manitou Volkswagen Polo were still 1 point ahead in the championship. And their year started much better than Bottrell's.
At Natal we had a good event. We won the first round, which gave us a lead in the championship. Sasol was a difficult event, very tricky conditions, but we managed to score 2nd and to maintain a good position in the championship. Secunda, unfortunately we had some bad luck with engine trouble, but we're still in a good position in the championship.
The man of the moment, however, was Matthew Vasey-Lyle, who campaigns a Fragram-supported Toyota Etios S1600, together with navigator Skalk van Heerden. They can't complain about the start of their season, but there's plenty of pressure going into round 4.
Natal was alright. We finished 2nd. We got 2/3 obviously on Sasol and Secunda, and yeah, it's helped us a lot in the championship.
Former track racer Chad van Beurden and navigator Nico Swartz are another crew to keep an eye on, and their current fourth place in the championship is testament to their speed. For the Bela Bela rally, the pair switched from Volkswagen to Ford, and they tackled round 4 in S2000 driver Ernie van der Walt's former S1600 steed. Another Ford crew is in fifth on the standings in the form of Richard Leek and Rikus Fourie, who campaigned the ATS Ford Fiesta. The pair is undeniably fast but lack the results to back up their speed. But Bela Bela offered another opportunity for them and the rest of the strong S16,000 field to show their mettle. But before we tell the tale of the Class S1600 battle in Bela Bela, let's take a quick look at what happened in Class S2000. These purpose-built rally machines feature normally aspirated engines of 2 litres, 4-wheel drive and sequential shift transmissions. They also cost a fair whack of money, but are undeniably spectacular to watch in action. So far, 2015 has belonged to Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton in the Ford Performance Ford Fiesta. The pairs recorded 3 wins from 3 starts, whilst defending champions Castrol Team Toyota's Leroy Poulter and navigator Elvin Kutsia managed to hang on to their championship by the skin of their teeth. Going into round 4, the Bela Bela Motor Rally, Cronje had a lead of 17 points over Poulter, who in turn had a 12-point buffer over Gugu Zulu in the Sasol Volkswagen. For Poulter, the only option in Bela Bela was max attack. He simply couldn't allow Cronje to take another victory, not if he wanted any chance of defending his championship. And so into the fray they went. But in a cruel twist, things went wrong for Cronje from the get-go. An overshoot at the end of the first long straight of the rally saw him lose 10 seconds, giving the early lead to Poulter in the Toyota. The young champion never relinquished this position and managed to extend his lead over Cronje to 28.8 seconds in the end. This gave the Toyota crew some respite in their quest for the championship, though Cronje, who finished second, still had a defendable lead. Behind the 2 front runners was a close dice for third place. Initially, it was between Volkswagen's Hergen Fecken, with navigator Pierre Aris beside him, and Castrol Team Toyota's Janelle de Villiers and navigator Carolyn Swan. But de Villiers suffered a puncture late on day 1, sending him tumbling down the order. And Fecken destroyed the one corner of his Polo after contact with a hidden tree stump. In the end, the battle for third became a tight 3-way tussle between Jaapie van Niekerk and navigator Gerard Snyman in the mad Ford Fiesta, Gugu Zulu and Hilton Alfree in another Sasol Volkswagen, and de Villiers, who had chipped away at the crews ahead of him during day 2. The final podium spot eventually went to van Niekerk, putting 2 Fords on the podium for the first time in recent history. Zulu took 4th, just 4 seconds behind van Niekerk, while de Villiers had to settle for 5th, some 9 seconds further adrift. But that was the big boys' battle in the top class. Just below that are the men and women who contest Class S1600, a vibrant, colourful bunch of passionate people who are not only fast but also highly competitive. For them, Bela Bela was the ideal backdrop to continue their battle for rally supremacy. And with only 3 points separating the top 3, this was shaping up to be one hell of a dice. After the ceremonial start at the Bela Mall, it was time for the crews to tackle Stage 1, known as Century 21. This stage was to form the meat of the event, with 2 runs on one day and 2 more on day 2, albeit in the opposite direction. At 18.1 kilometers in length, with a soft, sandy surface, Stage 1 was a baptism of fire for the crews in Class S1600. But where some see a challenge, Guy Bottrell sees an opportunity. And so the defending champions launched their Yato Toyota Etios into and through Stage 1 in a time of 14 minutes 12.4 seconds. Clearly a blistering start. So blistering, in fact, that the next quickest time was a full 8 seconds slower. That time was posted by Ashley Haig-Smith and Damien van As in the AHS Ford Fiesta. They led Van Beurden and Swartz by 3 seconds, who in turn pipped Franken and Kern by a single second. Leek and navigator Rikus Fourie followed another second behind them, with Marco Himmel, Andrew Hein and Matthew Vasey-Lau all making it through safely, if not quite as quick as they had hoped. The only casualty of the stage was AC Potgieter, with navigator Tommy de Toy beside him. The youngster's brakes failed after brake line was damaged, and he lost 56 seconds in the process. But for the crews in Class S1600, Stage 1 was behind them, and the game was on. Up next was the stage at the Bela waterfront, serving as stage 2 of the event. Just 9.9 kilometres in length, but undeniably tricky and tight. By now it was clear that Bottrell and Bela had the bit between their teeth, and with the narrow and technical stages of the Bela Motor Rally, it was imperative for the rest of the field to stay in touch. But while the rest set out about catching Bottrell, the young Durbanite concentrated on staying in front. He again went fastest on the stage, beating his nearest rival by 3 seconds. That rival was Paul Franken, who posted a time of 9 minutes 20.9 seconds. That's 4 seconds quicker than Haig Smith, who came through third fastest. Haig Smith in turn managed to beat Bela in the Program Toyota on the stage, but only by 0.2 of a second. And so after just 2 stages, Bottrell had already built a lead of 23 seconds. With the first 2 stages serving as nothing more than a stage setter, it was time for the crews to head to the Dunlop Service Park, across the road from the Forever Resort in town. A quick tightening of the bolts, checking of everything else, and some sustenance for the crews, and it was off again. But let's take a moment to take stock of the situation. Bottrell had stolen in early March, but behind him Haig Smith and Franken were on exactly the same time. Van Beurden was just 5 seconds behind them, and Leek a further 3 seconds back. Remember that tight dice we mentioned? Back to the stage called Century 21, the crews went for another running. This time as stage 3, on a surface that had by now been churned up by the faster S2000s twice, as well as one run by the S1600 crews themselves. 18 kilometres of treacherous sand awaited. Remember that only 5 seconds separated the crews in positions 2, 3 and 4 on the leaderboard, so every second suddenly counted. Fastest of these 3 on stage 3, Ashley Haig Smith in the Ford Fiesta, but only just. He managed to beat Van Beurden by the princely margin of 0.2 seconds, and so the two of them remained the same distance apart. Franken in turn lost a single second to the 2 crews ahead of him on the stage, so a total of 1.2 seconds separated these 3 on stage 3, after 18 kilometres of racing. Bela followed 4 seconds behind Franken, and he led Richard Leek by just 3 seconds. AC Potgieter had repaired the brakes on his Polo between stages and came through just 1 second behind Leek. Marco Himmel was next quickest, only 10 seconds down on the time posted by Franken. And Bottrell, well, he just kept powering on, taking 5 seconds out of the chasing pack, further extending his lead. After stage 3, it was time to head back to the stage at the Bela waterfront for a second running. This stage was the final stage on day 1 of the rally, so if ever there was a right time to go max attack and make a move on the leaderboard, this was it. And that is exactly what Paul Franken decided to do. He put in a big push for the end of the day and posted a time of 9 minutes 7.6 seconds, 13 seconds faster than his own time from the first run earlier in the day. More significantly, it was also 3 seconds quicker than the time posted by the rally leader, Guy Bottrell, and even more importantly, 14 seconds faster than Haig Smith, who was just a single second ahead of him after stage 3. Haig Smith's time was good enough for 4th fastest on the stage, with Marco Himmel posting the 3rd quickest time. Van Beurden made sure that he stayed in the mix by posting a time of 9 minutes 14.6, 7 seconds slower than Franken, but certainly fast enough to keep him in touch. So for the crews at the head of the field, it was a tight race throughout day 1 of the Bela Motor Rally. Sadly, stage 4 spelled trouble for the Volkswagen Polo crew of Andrew Hain and Robbie Coetzee. The transmission in their S1600 machine gave up the ghost, and the pair was forced to retire. After Franken's dying light charge at the end of the day, Bottrell's lead was down to 17 seconds. Still nothing to worry about, but the Durbanite certainly felt the heat at the back of his neck. Van Beurden was in 3rd, 11 seconds back, with Haig Smith just 2 seconds further adrift. Leek was still very much in touch, just 10 seconds behind Haig Smith, but for now, it was Bottrell who had reason to smile.
The car's going well, we haven't had any issues. It's very dusty out there, very sandy.
Day 2 of the Bela Motor Rally saw the teams tackle 6 stages in 2 loops, comprising 3 stages each. With only 4 stages on day 1, day 2 offered the meat of the event, an ample opportunity for glory, or disaster along the way. With less than a minute between the top 5, there was no doubt that the pace would be frenetic from the get-go, and so the crews lined up at stage 5 for the first loop of stages. It was known as Van Heerden Apteka and comprised 15 kilometres of special stage distance. Not the longest stage of the rally by any means, but a tough way to start the day nonetheless. By now it was clear that the battle at the top was going to be bloody, and that no quarter would be given. Defending champion Guy Bottrell in the Yato Toyota Etios was first into the fray. He posted a time of 11 minutes 47.9 seconds, quick but not the quickest of the morning. He was pipped by Matthew Lyle in the Fragram version of the same car. His time was 11 minutes 47.3, a full 0.6 of a second quicker than Bottrell. But then Lyle didn't post the fastest time on stage 5 either. No, that honour went to Chad van Beurden in the Gem Sport Polo, who came through in 11 minutes 47 straight. His time was just 0.3 of a second quicker than that of Lyle, so the top 3 times on stage 5 were separated by less than a single second. To make things even more interesting, the chasing pack, including AC Potgieter, Marco Himmel and Haig Smith, all posted times within a second of each other too, albeit 3 seconds slower than the top 3. Richard Leek followed this pack, but again only 1 second slower. The only real loser on the stage was Franken in the Manitou Polo, who lost 12 seconds to the leaders due to an intermittent misfire. The funky name Toowoomba was the next stage 6 of the rally. At 27 kilometres in length, this was a stage with hair on its chest, and if ever there was a good place to trip up, this was it. But that's exactly what Guy Bottrell didn't do. The rally leader used the opportunity to stamp his authority on the event by going 2.7 seconds quicker than anybody else. So for the leader, it was all good. But behind him, there was trouble for Franken. The misfire from the previous stage had become near terminal, and the pair was forced to cruise through the stage, losing more than 2 minutes in the process. But the fact that it was more than 2 minutes was critical, as that's the same amount of time allowed as a dust gap between competitors. This meant that Chad van Beurden, who was behind Franken on the road, got trapped in the dust of the slower car ahead of him, costing the new Ford driver 30 seconds in the process. Double trouble then for the chasing pack, playing right into the hands of Bottrell. This opened the door for AC Potgieter in the Volkswagen Polo to show his mettle, which he did by posting the second quickest time on the stage. Matthew Lyle was next fastest, with Marco Himmel hot on his heels. Richard Leek lost a little bit of time to the leaders, but remained in touch. For Ashley Haig Smith in a similar Ford Fiesta, however, things weren't looking too rosy. The fuel pump in his S1600 Fiesta was acting up, costing him time as a result. He lost 24 seconds to Bottrell on this stage, and with one more stage between him and the service park, things were looking bleak. The stage was 2020 developments, essentially a repeat from day 1, but this time run in the opposite direction. At 19.47 kilometres in length, it promised to be tough after the 4 runs over the same tracks on the previous day. With more than half the rally distance behind them, it was moving time for the cruising class S1600. Make a move or miss out on the podium. Bottrell did what seemed to come naturally to the youngster. He went faster than anyone else on the stage, beating AC Potgieter by 2 seconds over the distance. Potgieter's pace was impressive, however, and he was 2 full seconds faster than Lyle, who posted the 3rd quickest time. Leek followed 0.6 of a second back in the ATS and North City panel beaters Ford Fiesta, with Marco Himmel exactly 1 second behind him. Van Beurden, Haig Smith and Franken all lost more time on the stage, compressing the field even more and making the fight for the podium interesting, to say the least. By now it was clear that only a major catastrophe would stop Bottrell and Lyle from claiming victory. But behind them there were 4 crews separated by only 8 seconds. And with only 2 steps on the podium up for grabs, the last 3 stages of the Bela Motor Rally promised to be exhilarating for the crews and spectators alike. Finally, it was time for the crews to fix, fill up and patch their tired rally cars at the Dunlop Service Park. Back to Van Heerden Apteka it was then for another charge through the 15-kilometre long stage. This was stage 8 of the rally, and for the crews hoping to attain podium glory, it was time to lay it all on the line. With the cars now sorted, the faster runners from earlier could get back in the mix. And that's exactly what Chad van Beurden and Nico Swartz in the Gemsport Ford Fiesta proceeded to do by posting a time of 11 minutes 33.2 seconds. Their time was a full 14 seconds quicker than in the morning run, but they were still beaten by nearly 8 seconds. The stage was won by Matthew Vasey, Lyle and Schalk van Heerden in their program Toyota Etios. Remember, they were now up to second overall in the event, but needed to ensure that they stayed ahead of Van Beurden at all costs. AC Potgieter continued his good form by going third quickest, with Bottrell adopting a more leisurely approach, some 15 seconds slower than the stage-winning time posted by Vasey Lyle. Ashley Haig-Smith was back in the mix in his AHS Ford Fiesta and went just 1.2 seconds slower than Bottrell. Marco Himmel and Gert Nienaber followed 0.2 of a second later, with Richard Leek losing more time on the stage. But Leek was also still in touch and had a lot to fight for on stage 9, a second bite at Toowoomba. But this time all the crews came through unscathed. As a matter of fact, one crew in particular stood out, as AC Potgieter and Tommy de Troy recorded their first stage win. The pair posted a time of 18 minutes 12.2, a healthy 2 seconds quicker than the time posted by rally leaders Bottrell and Vasey Lyle. They in turn took another 6 seconds out of Chad van Beurden and Nico Swartz, who managed to beat Vasey Lyle and van Heerden by 3 seconds on this stage. But what did all these times mean for the leaders? Bottrell was still in control, but behind him Vasey Lyle and van Beurden were separated by only 10 seconds. And then there was a 15-second gap to Himmel in fourth, tight to say the least. And it was with those small gaps that the crews moved to stage 10 of the Bela Bela Motor Rally. A final run through the stage known as 2020 developments. Just 19.4 kilometers stood between them and the checkered flag. Glory for Bottrell, surely, but who would be next to him on the podium? With just shy of 20 kilometers to go, it was down to a final stage dice between Van Beurden in the Gemsport Ford Fiesta and Matthew Vasey Lyle in the program Toyota Etios. But let's start with the rally leader Guy Bottrell. Together with navigator Simon Vasey Lyle, the pair posted a time of 15 minutes 56 seconds on the final stage. It wasn't significantly slower than anyone else, and certainly quick enough to retain their lead, which meant that Bottrell made it 2 wins on the trot, instantly reviving his championship aspirations and setting up the second half of the season as a nail-biter. But what about that thing between Van Beurden and Vasey Lyle? With Vasey Lyle holding a 9.9 second lead going into the stage, Van Beurden had to beat him by 10 seconds or more in order to pinch second place. A tall order on the tight Bela Bela stages. Vasey Lyle posted a time of just 0.6 seconds slower than Bottrell, showing that he certainly didn't lack the pace. But then neither did Van Beurden, who blasted through the final stage in a time of 15 minutes 45.3, 13.3 seconds quicker than Vasey Lyle. This meant that it was Van Beurden who took second place by a margin of only 1.4 seconds. Vasey Lyle had to settle for third, but what a spectacular battle it was. The final stage was also a final opportunity for AC Potgieter and Tommy de Troy to continue their good form. But this time Lady Luck failed to smile on them. The pair rolled their polo on the final stage, bringing the Bela Bela Motor Rally to a sad close for them, despite posting great stage times earlier on. For Richard Leek and Rikus Fourie in the ATS Fiesta, it was a case of so close yet so far. They were nearly back on the podium but lived to fight another day. Ashley Haig-Smith and Damien van As had trouble along the way, otherwise they too might have been in with a chance. And Marco Himmel and Gert Nienaber threatened to upset the apple cart early on, though their charge came to nothing in the end. And here's confirmation of a stunning victory for Bottrell. Van Beurden and Vasey Lyle slugged it out right to the end, with Leek losing out this time around. Haig-Smith completed the top 5, though he'll be wondering what could have been had the fuel pump in his car not acted up. Matthew Vasey Lyle must be getting used to the third step on the podium after attaining the same position in Secunda. Even so, he can't be too unhappy, as his championship is still very much alive.
No, it was pretty good. Happy with the third place.
But for Van Beurden, the slugfest with Vasey Lyle turned out in his favour, and he had every reason to smile. Not only was he back on the podium, but he achieved a stunning result despite switching to an unfamiliar car for this event. The Fiesta didn't let him down, and Van Beerden is sure to be back for more.
Our pace got stronger and stronger, and we managed to get a solid result for the championship.
And for the second time in as many races, it was Bottrell who stood on the top step of the podium. For the Durbanite, the Bela Bela Motor Rally may well prove to be the turning point in his championship. A championship that looked like it was in trouble after the first 2 rounds.
2 in a row, good for the championship, but still got a long way to go in the season. The championship's still very close.
Next up is the Volkswagen Rally in the area around Port Elizabeth in the middle of July. One of the most iconic events, and if history is anything to go by, it promises to be wet, muddy and exciting. This is the one you don't want to miss. All the highs and lows from the 2015 Bela Bela Motor Rally was brought to you by the South African National Rally Commission and its partners, Volkswagen, Ford, Toyota, Dunlop and Sasol.